Oh, hello again. Tonight we're going to be looking at the latest Van der Graaf Generator album called A Grounding in Numbers. Yeah, what can we say about it? It consists of 13 tracks, it's 47 minutes long, and it's the second album that the three-piece Van der Graaf has put out without David Jackson. Yeah, well, as you can imagine, there's no saxophone on it. It's quite a dense record, lots of guitars played by Peter Hamill and keyboards by Hugh Banton, obviously, and Guy Evans back on behind the drum kit again. I mean, it's a much more cohesive record than Trisector, I believe, and what I'm going to do is I'll go through it track by track, if you will. The first track, the track that opens the album, is a ballad called Your Time Starts Now. It's very reminiscent of something that Peter Hamill would do from his own solo career, you know, off of the Roaring Forties or perhaps Cross Your Heart. It sounds very, very similar to one of those songs. It's very nice, and it's all about mortality and how we have to live in the now. You know, common subjects for Hamill to cover, and it's a half decent opening. The second track on the record is a piece called Mathematics, and it sounds very much like classic VDGG from their Still Life period. And would you believe it? It's a song that celebrates mathematics. Yeah, the clue is in the title. It's okay, but seeing as I hated maths at school, it doesn't really touch my emotional core. What next for the band? Are they going to expand on the joys of woodwork, maybe physics and how you live your life, or perhaps they'll do a ballad for geography, all celebrated in song? Yeah, I'm being daft. I mean, yeah, it's okay, it's nice enough, but you know, it's all right. The third track is called Highly Strung, and again, this sounds like one of Hamill's solo tracks, and this is the problem I have with the record, is a lot of it sounds as if it could have been Hamill on his own, with Banton and Evans just providing support. And Highly Strung is fairly rough and ready. It's got a really good wonky lead guitar line that I like, and it sounds like something from Sitting Targets, the Hamill album. It's about having a panic attack and keeping control, and it's one of those songs that really needs to be played loud. This is followed by something called Red Baron, which is just ambient filler. Next track is called Bun Show. It's not about bunnies that put on a show. It's we're venturing back into familiar VDGG territory with this one, but I found it a little bit too rambling to get excited. It worked better when they played it live earlier in the year at the Barbican, but again, on the record I thought it lacked a certain spark, but some say it's a standout track, and I can see why they would say that. This is followed by Snake Oil, which is, again, it's a pretty strong song off the album. It's got lots of organs on it, lots of organ stabs and discordant runs, which, you know, wouldn't sound out of place from the Porn Arts album. And yeah, it's not a bad track. Snake Oil. We all know what that means, don't we? And this is followed by another instrumental piece called Splink. It starts well, and you think it's going to lead somewhere interesting, but then it quickly disappears up its own fundament, as any kind of tune is quickly replaced by what sounds like a cat walking slowly across a harpsichord. And I'm not joking there. It really does start off well and die on its arse. This is followed by Embarrassing Kid. It's alright. It's familiar territory. It's a punky number about regrets and regrettable actions and how did I do this and why did I do that, and yeah, I could live without it. The tempo slows somewhat for Medusa, which is about a woman, I believe. Again, I think they've run out of archetypes to use, so they've picked on the snake-headed woman, And again, it sounds like mid-period VDGG or early Hamill's solo career. And my issue with it is it's a bit too short. It's a good premise that, goes before it really picks up any steam. And in the right circumstances, you think it could have been extended and it could have been a major piece. It needed some extra bits bolted onto it. And the next track after this is for me the standout track of the album. It's called Mr. Sands, and it's got some really good riffage in it that comes and goes, which you think the song is kind of referring to other tracks you've heard on the album. It's got a real familiarity about it, and it just, for me, it just feels totally right. It's hard to explain, and when the band played it live, it was very, very powerful. And again, it's my standout track from the record. This is followed by a track called Smug, and again, it's classic Hamill fare. There's a good little riff in there somewhere, but it comes and goes too quickly. And this is an issue you have. A lot of the songs are shorter; they're like 3 minutes long. And whilst we're used to Van der Graaf Generator doing longer, extended pieces, and so you get a feeling that some of the ideas, could just do with a bit more work on. This is followed by something called 5533, and it's a scattering, discordant mess. And I can see why some hardened VDGG fans would like this track, but for me, it's not one of those ones that I'm going to take to my heart, and I'd probably skip it. If I was playing it on CD or something, I'd probably just skip to the next track. And we get to the final track of the album, which is called All Over the Place, and it's actually the longest song on the album, and it's dominated by keyboard playing. Both Hamill and Banton are on the keyboards for this one, and it's got a fair stand, and it's semi-epic, and it's a decent ending to the collection. Overall, I think that Grounded in Numbers is, as I said before, stronger than Trisector, but it's difficult to get away from the fact that there is no David Jackson on these records, and his saxes really are missed, and they do bolster up the songs. Without Jackson, some of the album does end up sounding like a Peter Hamill record, and that isn't a bad thing, because I really like Peter Hamill's solo material. But you feel that some of the power and the spirit has been diminished with them being a three-piece, because whilst they are masters at their craft, while Hammer's a great vocalist, he's not a particularly good guitarist, and so they really need an extra instrumentalist in there who's master of their game to give the band an extra oomph. But it doesn't matter for me, because I'm one of those folks who's a Peter Hamill fan, and I'd happily listen to Hamill sing the telephone book to me. So what would I give it out of 5? Well, this one I'd probably give it a very average 3 Pawn Hearts out of 5. That's 3 Pawn Hearts out of 5. My name's been Darren Rock, and you better prog on.